talked about the broad ligament. This is the broad ligament back here. Okay. This is the mesovarium. Mesovarium lies right there between the ovarian ligament and the fallopian tube right there. It lies right in here. Okay, so this is it right here. When I look at the ovary, see that blue dot going all the way around? That's the germinal epithelium. And right underneath it, see the little white cloud? That little white cloud is the tunica albuginea of the ovary. Now, this is the medulla, and this is the cortex. When I look, when a girl is developing in utero, in mama, she develops all the oocytes she's ever going to have. So we call these the primordial follicles. The follicle is like an eggshell, and the egg inside is the oocyte. So these are primordial follicles, and little blue dots are the oocytes with 46 chromosomes. Then they're going to go to reduction, and these become primary follicles. Primary follicle has one ring of cells, and there's the oocyte. And then it'll stop there. And then once it reaches puberty, they become secondary oocytes. See the two layers of cells and see that little black line? That little black line is called the antrum. And that antrum is going to fill up with a fluid that we call the liquor folliculi. And it becomes, that little black line becomes this great big opening. So I have a primary follicle, a secondary follicle, and a tertiary follicle. Now this is already ovulated, because if it hadn't ovulated, that would be sticking inside of this big hole. Well, this is filled with that liquid, the liquor folliculi. Normally, one follicle becomes a tertiary follicle, and that's the one that's going to ovulate. When it ovulates, that liquor folliculi flushes this oocyte out. Well, it's lost its cytoplasm, so it can't nourish itself. So it has that little white cloud called the cumulus oophrus, and that has some substances that will give nutrients to the oocyte. It's only going to live for 12 to 24 hours, and then it disintegrates. It doesn't get fertilized. As soon as this ovulates, it collapses and becomes the corpus hemorrhagicum. You will never see this blood. This is way up in the ovary. Ovaries are way up here. Then it very quickly becomes this structure. And this is the corpus luteum, yellow body. One of two things is going to happen. If this oocyte does not get fertilized, this corpus luteum becomes the corpus periodicum. Now, the corpus luteum makes progesterone. Progesterone maintains the pregnancy. Well, right after ovulation, this doesn't know if that's going to get fertilized, so it keeps the progesterone up in case it does get fertilized. And it'll stay up for about 10 days, and then it starts dropping. And that's when the woman has her period, has her menses. This is the corpus periodicum. If this oocyte does get fertilized, it'll start to secrete a hormone called human chorionic gonadotropin, HCG, only in the human body when a woman's pregnant. This becomes the corpus gravidicum. Corpus gravidicum is going to make progesterone to maintain the pregnancy until the placenta gets embedded, and then it'll take over. Once it's embedded and takes over, this will still stay as the corpus gravidicum, because at the end of the pregnancy, just before delivery, it's going to secrete a hormone called relaxin. That relaxes the symphysis pubis so it can move apart. Relaxes the sacroiliac joint with the sacrum and the ilium joint in the back so it can move apart, so that baby can slide through the birth canal. The other thing it does is when the woman got pregnant, a mucus plug closed this off, and it relaxes the cervix, and that mucus plug falls out. That's the bloody show. Then the bag of water breaks and boop, baby time. Okay? Either way, whether it became the corpus periodicum or it became the corpus gravidicum, at the end of the pregnancy or at the end of the period, it becomes scar tissue, the corpus albicans. Now, see this one? At any time, any one of these, this one, or this one, can just stop and dry up. This is an atretic follicle. Happens to be a primary follicle that stopped and dried up. Look at these cells and look at those cells. See the difference? Look at that oocyte and look at this oocyte. It's all dried up. This one stopped. It'll never do anything. Becomes scar tissue. And any one of these can stop and become an atretic follicle. It just becomes scar tissue. Okay?